Well, hello once again, everyone. This is Bob Martin, the RCSubGuy with the Nautilus Dry Docks. I sure hope you're here to learn about RC submarines because it's the only reason I'm here. Okay, new week. We're going to kick things off. Well, they've already been kicked off. It's actually 12:30 in the afternoon on Monday. I haven't been doing nothing. Packed up a bunch of orders, sold some boats this morning, got them shipped out, and I took Renee to the airport because I'm flying solo until Thursday night, and Friday I'm flying down to Florida to meet her. So truncated week this week, but we got lots that we want to get done. We got this little 212 that we're going to be bringing out here in a minute for final testing. We've got this RC Russian Typhoon to continue work on, and we've got this, I believe, 72nd scale Virginia class that we're going to pick away at. So lots going on, but we're going to start with that. Well, shoot, that was a false start. Battery on transmitter is completely dead. I got that on the charger, so I guess we can try and button up that. See if it's going to leak today. So if you've been following along, you'll see this is a 1/100th scale Engel of Germany Typhoon class submarine kit. This is the early version. Engel came out with what they called their master scale kit that had all the anechoic tiles scribed in there. This is not that one. So we're just in the final stages of getting this thing all put together. Functionally, it's perfect. Leaky wise, it has not been. It's been somewhat problematic, and I don't think this boat has ever been in the water. The previous owner, I think, started working on it, but didn't finish. So I'm going to go ahead and put 853,654 wing nuts on the waterproof box lids here, torque it all down, and bring this thing out to the top secret test facility, and we're going to check and see if this thing wants to leak today. Outside at the top secret test facility with Mr. Typhoon. You'll notice I kept the lid off. What we're doing right now is a functional leak test. So we're going to throw it in the water, turn on, cycle the ballast, let that internal compartment pressure up from those piston tanks, and look for bubbles. You going to give me a hand? You need to help me spot the bubbles. Are you ready? Okay, let's do it. All right, she is floating. Let's see if we can get her to sink. Oh, no, there's massive leak. I know exactly what that is. That's the waterproof switch, I think. Yeah. So I had seen this before when Jason was taking this off. His pliers slipped. I think he shredded this cap. Booger. All right, well, let's see if anywhere else is leaking. Got one tiny little air bubble coming from the seal right there. All right. Well, now I've got to pull it out before I cycle the ballast again. Otherwise, what will end up happening is it'll suck water through that problem right there. Dang it! God dang it! Okay, so replace the boot, the Canadian boot in the front. I'm gonna let that cure. Well, technically, I probably don't, because that boot does have its own O-ring that seals against, but I don't want to mess around with it. I want that silicone to cure really, really well. Still waiting on the battery to charge on 212, so hey, we might as well work on the Virginia. Okay, now I get to show you what kind of production it is to extract the cylinder from this, because of the design of the boat. Now this is a mixed media 3D printed / PVC tube kit from Otto, from RCSubs.cz. And it comes in 3 parts. We have our forward section part right here. And we've got a waterproof servo in the front for the bow planes, which works super cool. We're going to unplug that. We're going to unplug the lighting circuit. And then in the stern, which you guys can't see from there, but I'll pull out. There's magnetic couplers in the back and a dog bone. So there's no actual like connections that need to be made up, like no screws or bolts or anything. There's the stern, all the linkages and the drive shaft and all that fun stuff. My last video I reworked the entire stern linkages, so those are all working properly now. I'm going to show you this is the rear bulkhead that I 3D printed, and this does a few things. It stops the boat, well here let me show you again. It stopped these knurled nuts from the cylinder fit into these holes. So it stops it from going back, up, down, left, right, or twisting. The only thing that it doesn't do is stop the entire cylinder from shifting forward. This bolt, this retaining bolt on the top, however, kind of does. You torque it down, it goes onto a foam pad and pins the forward part of the cylinder down. So now that we've got everything disconnected, we can reach in. You can see how big this is. Even me with my big meaty hands can get my hand in there. And then we just pull everything forward. You got to kind of do this by feel and do wiggling and all sorts of stuff. And you extract the OTW 3.5-inch dive module. And the reason I did that is because I need to program the speed controllers, program the pitch controller, and basically get this all set up and ready for wet trials. Okay, I want to show you how to program the AD2 and how to program those 2 electronic speed controllers. They're pretty common, the M-Tronics speed controllers, and certainly the AD2 is. Let me show you. So the instructions for all of the electronics that I offer on my website, this is for the AD2 from Kevin MacLeod. The setup mode is what we basically want here right now. So the tricky thing is you need to press and hold the set button on the side of the unit there and then power on the unit. Fortunately, this has remote switches, so I'm just going to go ahead and connect the battery here, and we're going to go through this whole process start to finish. We'll see if I can do it first time. You know, I'm going to need 2 hands. I can't do this and that and the other thing all at the same time. I had actually gone through the whole process, noticing that I didn't hit the record button right here. So now I'm doing it all over again just for you people. So 2 blink, planes in neutral, press and hold. Solid green, let go. Now we're on to 3 blinks. Okay, now we command full rise on the planes for the second step and press and hold. Okay, and the last, hold the equipment tray vertical so the nose of the cylinder is pointing up, and then press and hold. So I can't remember if I showed this to you last week, but basically with this unprogrammed, the pitch was responsive to this axis, not this axis. So I would roll it back and forth and the pitch controller would work. So now that it's been properly programmed, you can see if the boat dives, it pushes, and if it surfaces, it pulls. That sensitivity is high. I'm gonna press and hold it. You see how like quick and jumpy that is? I'm gonna set it to 2. So you press and hold, jumped to 2. That's a lot more stable, a little bit less finicky and jumpy and nasty. So now our pitch controller is all done. The only thing we need to do is confirm the direction of travel. So again, if the boat dives, linkage pushes. So let's grab this and open this up. The boat dives, the linkage pushes. Oh, and now it went into a dive. We need to fix that. You know what? Because I didn't set when I programmed the radio, I didn't set the travels because it wasn't all hooked up and working and operational before. So I just got to go back in and switch that around. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to go into my mixer to my dive planes, edit those, and reverse it. Bloop. So easy. God, I love these radios. They're awesome. Okay, speed programming. I'm going to see how quick I can do this now that I've done it about 850 times. Power off. Press and hold set. Power on. Solid green. Good to go. First step, neutral on the planes. Press and hold. Solid green. Full rise on the planes. Press and hold. Lastly, orient the tray vertically. Press and hold. Ta-da! This is a process that may take you a few times. It literally took me like 4 times here right now, mostly because of user error and accidentally pressing the button at the wrong time, and you just got to start over again. Once you get it set up, it's done. You never have to touch it again. And these are super cool and powerful pitch controllers. But that done, now I'm going to hook everything back up. We got to go into the electronic speed controllers and set these up. So the process for programming these is pretty simple. What you do, you press and hold that setup button right there, turn the power on, and then you'll get blinking pattern. You go full forward, to neutral, to full reverse, to neutral, and it's programmed. All right. Programmed. Ready to go. We have full forward. We have full reverse. Pitch controller is set properly now. So, let's percolate on this for a second. I think we're ready to button it back up again, chuck it in the pool, and see where it floats. Am I wrong? Am I forgetting something? I don't think so. We're back outside at the top secret test facility, but Virginia this time. It is hot out. It's like 95 degrees and really high humidity. Let's see if we can dunk this thing in and where it floats. I've not done any trimming. All I've done is put a couple of bands, rubber bands on there in preparation for foam if we need it, which we will. Let's see if we can get this thing in the water one-handed. Those OTW cylinders have a lot of buoyancy. Just apparently not enough buoyancy. So this makes sense because the battery is in the front. That is a lot of weight. So let me go grab some foam and we'll see if we can get this thing back up to where it needs to be. And this is where we ended up after about 5 minutes or so. Huge amounts of foam needed there. You can see that enormous block of foam I have on the bottom there. The nose is basically empty except for the linkages for the dive planes. So we got lots of room to jam foam in there. That's the water line right there. So actually this might be just a tad too much foam. And then in the back, we got just 2 pieces right there. But that's just about perfect in terms of scale waterline for the boat. So well, actually that might even be a little bit too much too. So we'll kind of, because there's a line right there. I'm going to empty it all out, bring it back into the shop. We're going to wedge all that foam in there, and then next time we'll come out, we'll check surfaced water line, and then we'll work on submerged. All right, managed to get all the foam in the bow. So you can see, well, if I turn this, all of it is mounted below the surfaced water line. There's nothing above the surfaced water line. I removed what was in there. There was foam in this upper area right here. So I removed that because it's going to screw up our submerged trim when we go to do that. Now all I need to do is put these couple pieces in the back, which slip nicely, just kind of in that area right there. And we'll be good to go for now. I'm gonna shut her down for tonight, pick it back up again in the morning. Howard's boat is doing weird things. I was gonna take it out and I went to bench test it, obviously. And the radio was doing weird things. I had this on the charger here for a little bit. It's fully charged now. Let me throw it back on the bench here and let's try it one more time. We'll see if it's still misbehaving. Yeah, unfortunately, it is. It's running in full forward now. So now when I go in reverse, it's like slow. 1/3 ahead is stop. And then forward is also reverse. So forward and reverse is reverse. So this is reverse. And this is forward. And then the stern planes, you can see right there, are all jacked up. These were not doing this. And I hit the rudders and the speed controller is kicking in both directions. Oh man. Howard told me it was doing weird things for him. It was like cutting out and all that kind of stuff. He thought maybe he needed a new radio. What's weird to me is this was okay, well, all through the video you saw it was working before, perfectly fine until today. I guess all I can do is maybe throw another receiver in it and radio, and if everything behaves properly, then we'll know it is a radio issue. So I got to see. I don't have any R9SXs left. They're on back order. So I'm going to have to go throw like the big 12 channel radio in it just to plug it in and see if it works. And maybe try and pair it to one of these radios here and just see if it behaves. Okay, so I just had like an online meeting, packing up some stuff, but I jumped back in the 212 and got some quasi-goodish news. So you can see what I have in here is a TDR12, which is a pretty high-tech receiver, but I just wanted to test this and make sure that it was working properly. I don't know if the receiver is messed up or the radio is messed up, but you guys saw yesterday, it was the thing. But now that I've gone ahead and hooked all this up, everything is functioning, perfectly fine now. So this is definitely a radio issue. Obviously this poor Polk looks like it's seen better days, but I don't know again if it's the Sombra Labs receiver or the transmitter that was causing the issues, but it is definitely a radio issue. So this is all going to go back in stock. I'm going to talk to Howard and see what he wants to do. He'd mentioned maybe getting another radio, so if that's the case, then maybe I just box this up and ship it back. I think he wanted it repainted though, so we'd have to do that first. But that means I can't really test it in the water unless he wants to go with the Free Sky radio, the 900 megahertz. So I think he's sold on low frequency. There's a lot of people, old school people around him, I think, are steering him in that direction. But at any rate, whatever he wants to do is all good. That mystery has been solved, so I am going to pull everything out, put it in, work on some paint, find out from him what he wants to do, and then we'll move on to Virginia. Man, I swear this 212 is going to be the death of me. So when I was using the other radio there, the one servo was working really, really good. This one right here, this one is binding. So now I've taken all of this apart. I've taken it off of the servo, so this is just open. And when I grabbed it, with these and moved it, there's some really significant binding going on in here. And I just loosened out the yoke inside there, and I've extracted this. This is really stiff, and it looks like there's like a bunch of corrosion all up in there. So I'm gonna pull it out, see if this one moves freely, which I'm hoping, because I can get to this one, I can't get to this one. Don't like this design, but that would tell me that this is the issue. Maybe some oil will fix it up, but we'll see. Yeah, I think that might have been it. Now that I've taken that one out, this is moving really good here. So this was definitely the issue. I'm gonna see. It could be that this is not perfectly aligned and it's binding, but it definitely needed some oil. It was like, look at the corrosion on there. I'm gonna take some fine sandpaper, sand that all down, give her a little lube, and then we'll see if we can free that up. Rapidly approaching the point where we're in the drop kick scenario. So this linkage is perfectly smooth now. I just attached it to the servo, but when I use the servo tester, get no throw, no power. I'm willing to bet this servo's screwed up. I'm gonna disconnect this linkage horn again and see how it operates with no linkage attached to it. It is a major undertaking to get that out. All of this needs to be disassembled, and I am not excited about that at all. So yeah, even with nothing attached to it, just watch how it behaves. I'm not goofing around. You can see how, because both the servos are tied together, see how the top behaves versus the bottom. That servo's bad. Outside, top secret test facility. Checking the cylinder for Virginia. I want to check and make sure the ballast pump is working and double check the direction of throw so I know for sure whether the switch is up or down to submerge the boat. So, we'll see how it looks. All right, radio is on. Cylinder is on. There we go. We got positive control here. Let's just swivel this out. So the intake is right at the water level there. So I'm going to have to push it down in order for it to suck water. So let's see what happens when we do that. Okay, so down is up and up is down. So I got to reverse that channel, which in this radio is a very easy thing to do. You just go down to reverse, on, done. Well, that's about as full as it's going to get. A little over half. Not impressed at all, but it's functional. Let's see if it'll go up. Oh yeah, no problem going up. Okay. All right, working on here. I got the servo mounted back in there. We got all the flotation foam that we were talking about earlier, and we still got room up top for submerged trim foam. Figured out why the cylinder wasn't turning on, and that is the battery connector on the cylinder, the pin kept pushing out. So I just put it back in and gave it a little dab of glue so it won't come out again. And remembered that I forgot to install the foam in the back. So I got that kicking off in there right now, just under the water line. That'll probably set up within the next 10-15 minutes. It'll give me enough time to finish buttoning up Typhoon, haul that outside, and we can double check the repairs that we did to the switch. Make sure that that's working good. And progress. All right, we are at the top secret test facility with a guest star.
Hello, Jason.
So, here's the fundamental issue with whoever put this together. They did not use the correct adhesives to assemble the pressure hull to the main hull. Engle instructions call for the utilization of micro balloons and resin. He used the same stuff I used right here. That's fine for repairs and patches, but not as a structural adhesion. So now what's happening is it's separating from the hull, which is not cool in the...
Actually, looks like it's calmed down a little bit.
Well, because the pressure's equalizing. So now I think what I'm going to need to do, I'm going to need to cut that whole strip out and then put epoxy in there. Cut it out with a knife.
Oh, just the goop.
Yeah, cut the goop out.
Gotcha.
But the good news is the switch isn't leaking. I don't think we're leaking anywhere else.
The box seems to be in good shape. No bubbles from the lid.
It's just that one spot, really.
And the lid looks good.
So, pull it back out. Man, oh man, we just can't win for losing lately with boats. I don't know what the heck's going on. Back outside. Disappointing Typhoon. Hopefully Virginia behaves. It's floating pretty good. A little tiny bit high in the front, but let's see what she does when we dive her. Going down.
Maybe.
Yep, it's going down. Stern's dropping.
Hit.
Yep.
Is there any air holes in that?
Probably not. All right, turn it off. Okay. So.
I bet there's a giant air bubble trapped in there.
Yeah, it could be. We'll try and shake it out. All right, Jason had to go, but still continuing to work. Just barely positively buoyant, perfectly level. This is what we need to see from this boat. Now, you'll see I've got a lot of weight in here. This is going to affect surfaced trim. So let's cycle the ballast and see what it does when she's up on the surface. I have a hunch this ballast tank is too small for this boat. So this is surface trim. It's hot out there. All these boats are fighting with me today. I'm getting a little sick of it. So, plug came out of this one too. These are just cheap, I guess. I'll have to press this back in and glue this side as well. Well, that's fine. The battery tray was just tacked in with, I guess this is CA? Epoxy maybe? At any rate, it just came right apart. So, got to make a new battery tray for the front in here, which actually means I could probably shift it forward from where it was before, which will help with the trim situation. But the biggest thing is I don't think the ballast tank has the adequate capacity for this boat. But it kind of does. If you guys remember when we checked this outside, that ballast tank was only filling up halfway. And that's a downside of the OTW system, is you never get full ballast tank capacity. There's always going to be an air bubble inside. Now, what I've done in the past, and this actually works really good, is convert a high pressure pump ballast system like the OTW unit into a low pressure ballast system. And the way we do this is by drilling a hole in the top of the ballast tank that allows the air to escape. So no longer is that high pressure air, it's ambient pressure air. Now this means that you're always going to need to maintain positive buoyancy in the boat. You can't statically dive, but nobody should be doing that anyway, particularly with a boat of this size, and particularly not a newbie like this particular owner is. That will double the ballast tank capacity. It will reduce the strain on the battery and the pump. It will decrease the cycle times. There's a lot of advantages to this. So I'm going to pull this out, drill the hole, make the vent, create a fake mast right here with a tube that will allow that to breach the surface to pull air, and that should rectify a lot of these issues that I'm fighting with right now. So the to-do list keeps getting longer. It should be getting shorter, not longer. Shorter, people! So talk to Howard. He's gonna try and find a radio on eBay, low frequency. I don't know what kind of luck he's gonna have. I've not seen many on there, but maybe he'll have good luck. Right now I'm drilling some holes in the top of the Virginia because just discovered there's no vent holes at all anywhere in this boat. Then I'm going to pull the cylinder out and we're going to install that low pressure vent. Yeah, this is just another weird day that no boat seems to be going well. So we're just going to keep trucking along. Put some good music on, and what are you going to do? All right, here's the part where you drill holes in your incredibly expensive watertight cylinder. Something like this, right in the middle. And I'm going to install these little plastic T's. Now, ideally, this would actually be an L fitting. But T will work. I'll just cap off the other side. Goes in like that. It'll keep the hose perfectly flush with the boat, and then it'll loop back through here where there'll be a quick disconnect, and then up out of the top of the sail, or at least that's the plan. All right, here we go. T is installed. It's capped off. Focus here, people. There we go. Goes up to the front where there's a quick disconnect, and that means you can remove the cylinder, put a cylinder in, connect it, etc. So we should be good now. We're going to bring this out once this is dried and flood the tank again, and you'll see we're going to get all the way up to the very top. Now, the other thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to mount that battery where it was sitting back, I don't know, maybe 3 inches or so. I'm going to try and pull that all the way forward. And in that way, you guys remember, it was sitting tail heavy. I had to put a lot of foam back there. It should shift the weight forward and get things a little bit more even without having to goof around with ballast weights and foam and all that fun stuff. So now we are on to making a battery bulkhead mounty tray-ish thing. Whew. That is a lot of work. So you can see I've sliced down like at least ½ an inch down into this groove. I've removed all of this, marine adhesive that was used. And again, this would not need to have been done if this would have been built properly in the first case. Now, it's going to be bulletproof when I'm done with it, but this is rework after rework after rework. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to fill this with epoxy, and I'm not gonna thicken it because I want it to flow down into all the nooks and the crannies and holes and gaps and whatever. In Engel's instructions, they want you to thicken it because obviously it would flow down and make a big mess everywhere. They wanted it thicker to keep, its shape. But it's got a dam on both sides, so we're just going to fill this completely with high-grade epoxy. One side down, one side to go. Which probably took I don't know, 15, 20 minutes of work, but holy, that's, this is tough stuff, but it is not the application to glue that to that. Well, found the leak. This, completely and utterly separated right here. Probably there was some like mold release or some wax, you know, on the fiberglass, and so this didn't stick to it. So it's a good thing we're doing this. All right, this is what it is. You see that bare fiberglass? Nothing was sticking to it, just separated, and it's only in this one spot. So again, I'm thinking there was just wax or mold release or something just on this part. This other side was fine, but we're fixing it anyway. This is what we need to redo. I might even jam my cutting disc down there and just rough that up really, really good. Whew! All right, we're getting there. Now I'm going to need to keep a close eye on this and make sure it's not actually leaking back into the dry compartment. But shouldn't. All right, that needs to kick off at least overnight before we are going to be able to put it back in the water again. Man, this thing is so close. It is so close. Virginia, that glue needs to cure. The seal for the vent that we put in the top, and also to secure the snorkel that we have up there. And that's the little T that we got. We're just going to wait for that glue to really set up, because when you hit that pump, there is going to be some pressure buildup around there. I don't want it to pop off. That'd suck. So really, we're kind of at the point where this stuff just needs to cure overnight. Fortunately, I got lots of other stuff to do. I'm not going to work on the 212 because we're not on speaking terms right now. He can just languish on the bench here for a little bit because his servo's not behaving. We'll pick this back up tomorrow. It's fine. But I am going to go work on something else that I got over there that you guys might think is kind of cool. So when Dave retired a few years ago, it created a void for a few different models. The Little Revell Type 7, Trumpeter Seawolf, and the Mobius models Seaview in 1/128th scale. The reason being is they used a little baby tiny 2-inch watertight cylinder, and there's not really a lot of people out there doing those right now, but there is a call for it. Now, I am in the middle of designing a 2-inch cylinder. I'm going to give you a sneak peek. So these are my prototype parts. Had some fitment issues with this, but you can see like a motor bulkhead here with some servos. This has the dual shaft gearbox in there, but if you're going single shaft, this just pops right out, and now you're single shaft. Gears just like our other ones. It's going to be really neat. I took a lot of inspiration from a bunch of different cylinders and my own experience. This one's going to be pretty similar to like the R&R version in that the entire equipment tray and ballast tank are all going to be integrated together, and then the outer waterproof shell slips on over top, which is going to be pretty darn cool. But it's a baby 2-inch cylinder. Hopefully it's going to go together really well. I got some revisions to do to the files to get the fitment right. I'm going to print out new prototypes tonight, and then hopefully tomorrow get those cooked off and we can start playing with putting stuff together. So I'm off to the computer. That'll probably do it for tonight. I got a haircut appointment too after work. So I'll come. You won't even recognize me tomorrow. It's going to be so svelte. Wednesday, coming up on 10 o'clock in the morning. Been busy. Packed up 4 orders. Drove to storage. Got some parts. And I washed the car too. Industrious. industrially industrious this morning. Okay, sit rep. Got in touch with a customer for the Virginia here this morning. He's a little disappointed that this isn't going to be a full static diving submarine because he wanted to operate this in a swimming pool. That's probably not going to happen. This thing is at least 5 feet long. At least 5 feet long. And being a modern submarine, turns like a pig. I'm guessing this is going to have about like a 20-foot turning radius at best. And you really need to be moving to get water over those control surfaces in order for them to become effective in the slightest. This is not a pool boat. So as of right now, I'm just going to keep proceeding down this path. I'm happy to convert it back to static diving. All I need to do is literally just plug this hose and it'd be right back to the way it was again. He just won't be able to get up to full surface water line, which I don't think is going to be a big deal anyway, because you can't operate this in a pool unless you feel like going forward and back, forward and back, forward and back. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. Maybe he'll trade it in on a smaller boat. Who knows? Maybe this will come up for sale here in a little bit. We'll see. Typhoon turned out pretty cool. Look at this gorgeous fillet of resin. Perfectly smooth all the way down the side, which is how this should have been done in the first place. Dang nabbit, people. Follow the instructions. There's a reason. All right. So in theory, this is good to go. So I can put this all back together again, throw this back in the water, do another leak test, and see where we're at. In theory, this is completely trimmed. In theory, because we trimmed it, even though it was leaking a bit. We trimmed it in submerged state, so should be good to go. I'm going to go ahead, button this up, and throw the lid on. Bring it outside. Let's throw it in the top secret test facility one more time, again, and see what happens. It's been doing something weird. Bench testing it here, which you always want to do, right? The last couple times, I'll turn it on, everything works fine. You cycle the ballast, the ballast strokes for about a second, and then all the power shuts off, which is super weird to me. And then turn it off, and you turn it back on, and nothing. No lights, no power, no nothing. What I'm hoping is the batteries are really low, which I don't think is the case. But you can see me taking all of these wing nuts off again. So some of you may be thinking, well, hey, why don't... I got a super good idea, right? Innovative. Nobody's ever thought of this. Why don't you put charging posts in the door or the body of the boat, and you can just charge the battery up without having to take the door off? Well, there's a reason for this. Sealed lead acid batteries, and some others, I believe, create a gas when you charge them, particularly when you overcharge them or quickly charge them. In this particular case, is hydrogen. And hydrogen is somewhat explosive. So imagine for a moment you've got an enclosed area filled with hydrogen with little brushed motors sparking away inside. And imagine, if you will, what would happen those hydrogen gases were ignited. Always charge with the door open. Look who's here.
Listen.
Back for more.
More fun.
Yep. So we got Virginia back in the water, and as you can see, it's floating at the perfect surface water line right now. Getting spun around by the jets in there. So let's double check, make sure it's still on. Yeah, we're good. Okay.
Okay. Where's rear?
Side slider. Burp. Yep. Okay. Well, let's bring it a little closer and we'll dive it and see what happens. In theory, it is going to be able to go all the way down. If we can get it over this step, that way if it sinks, it won't like sink. Okay, I got her.
Ready?
Ready.
Going down.
So now this is vented, so the ballast tank is going to fill all the way up, and when it's completely full, water should come out the mast. So she's heavy by the stern again. Hold on right there. We're going to put some foam in the back there, because we knew we needed to do that from last time. So, I think this is it. Massive amounts of foam in the back and a couple little strips of weight in the front. But this is what we're shooting for here, people. 1/2 inch of tower. So we got positive buoyancy. Let's surface it now and see what she does. So in theory now what's going to end up happening is it's going to sit nose down in surface trim. So here we are back in surfaced trim, and actually from a silhouette perspective it looks pretty good. It's level. In real life it should be sitting a little aft heavy, but this actually makes for kind of a neat profile. I think this is going to be doable. The issue is that the ballast tank was mounted too far back.
It's literally sitting.
Yeah, like the entire cylinder is,
right here.
Yeah, should have gone forward maybe like 4 inches. The whole thing would need to get reworked. This is going to work though, if we can get all that foam back there.
Yeah.
All right, so batteries are all charged up. We're ready to, I'm going to jump back on Typhoon here in a minute, but for like the last hour and a half,
2 hours-ish.
we've been mocking up the brand new surprise cylinder. Let's take a look. So 2-inch diameter, pump style system.
Mind you, this isn't complete. We didn't wire everything in.
It's not wired yet. This is a mock-up just to make sure everything fit, and man, it's slick. This is going to be a game changer for us, especially.
And so with dual drive.
Yeah, dual shaft bolt-on gearbox on the back. So what are these going to be good for? Single shaft should be good for Trumpeter Seawolf. Dual shaft will be like your Revell Type 7, your Mobius 1/128th Seaview, the little 177th Disney Nautilus from Masterpiece, and then basically any other little boat that you have that needs a 2-inch diameter. So super excited. We're going to see if we can shrink this down a little bit more, get that length a little shorter, but super simple, should be really, really reliable.
You want to show them?
Yeah, sure.
So no more knurled nuts. You don't have to worry about tightening them down, stripping them. The whole thing, the whole assembly comes apart in one piece. Don't mind the pump, that's not not mounted yet. But the whole thing comes apart in one piece, gives you access, hook up all your wires, check your receiver instead of with tweezers and
yeah, all the wires will be the exact perfect length and everything.
You have full access to the entire inside, and there's only 2 points of failure for the entire submarine.
Well, plus the seals.
Well, minus the seals. Those don't count. Those never leak.
So yeah, we're pretty stoked about this. We're getting close. We got to try and source another pump, and then I think the next version will be more of a production version. We got a list right there of stuff we need to do to modify these to make them more perfect than what it already is. Yeah. So keep an eye out for that coming here in the coming weeks. Parts should be really quick to manufacture, but I'm gone this weekend and stuff, so it'll be next week before we get to like version 2.0, the prototype.
So it's still going to be a few weeks out.
Yeah.
And then if this all goes good, we're going to try to implement that into the 250, the 300, and the 3
and a new 375.
Yeah.
Suckers for punishment. Typhoon seems to be functional. We're going to go back out. I think it was just a really low battery. Back out, throw it in, check for leaks. Here we go. Oh man. Oh, that's just the hose compressing. This is leaking from around the light. Oh, that's from the lid. We might have had a little goober stuck on the... Is that coming from the lid? Yeah.
This one is. That one's coming from under the fiberglass.
Yeah, it's coming up from the lid right there too. And that's the lighting output right there. All right, I'm getting closer. Happy Thursday! It's Thursday today. Last day of work for me this week because tomorrow bright and early I fly to Florida to pick Logan up. Yay! Back to full power. Although I'd imagine he's probably going to take a little time off to recover from his endeavors looking after the littles, as he calls them, in Florida. Let's take a look at what I've managed to do here this morning. All right, recap. There were some leaks. Hopefully we fixed them on the big Typhoon. That can get buttoned back up again, thrown back in the water. As exciting as that is to think about. This has had all the foam installed in the various locations. Hopefully there's no interference with the cylinder. Cylinder's just got to get buttoned back up, reinstalled, and then that'll be good to go. Installed new parts on the new 2-inch watertight cylinder. You can see you got the pump mount finished off there last night and installed. So now I just got to trim this outlet and hook up some speed controllers in here for the pump and motor, and it'll be ready for installation of a receiver. I don't know what we're going to do with this or what we're going to put in it or whatever, but it'll be ready to go. And 212, I'm not going to touch this thing until next week. It's going to be a major undertaking to replace that stupid servo hiding in the back. Did I mention how much I dislike the setup of these bayonet style boats? Don't like. Do not like. So I'm going to tinker just a little bit longer with this, get it set up and ready for the installation of a receiver, set it aside. Then button up Typhoon. We're going to bring that outside and throw the cylinder back in the Virginia, and hopefully we can get those two kind of set up and closer to being ready to go. Last thing, the illustrious Mr. Darby. I got the crate, so we're going to be boxing him up and shipping him out today if things go well. So that is going to take a little bit of doing all by myself, but it'll be good. Get it out of here. Get some room in this room for some more room. So I'm buttoning Typhoon back up again, and I applied some sealant to the backside around that lighting connection back here. But I wanted to see what was going on the inside because it looked like it's completely sealed. They were going to bust out a little tool I got sitting in the back of the tool chest. So when I went this in there, so it's the one on the right, and when you look underneath, you can see a big gap right underneath there. Now, I'm not naming any names, but there was somebody responsible for sealing around there, and it wasn't me. But we've got this figured out, which means I can go ahead and reseal it. We just need to wait for it to cure before we put it back in the water, which shouldn't be a problem. In the meantime, I can take the hour and 45 minutes it's going to take to put all the bolts back in the lid. All right, one more thing to consider in here, ladies and gentlemen. The previous builder ran this cable through to the bow thruster here, and it goes through, and the outside sheath was sealed really well. No leaky at all. But once we pressured up the cylinder, what we actually found is there's little bubbles that were coming from this. So what was happening is, right here, that air was being forced down that outer sheath, through the sheath, and then out into, you know, the motor area there, which is not super awesome. So I had to go in and seal around here as well. And it was just a tiny, tiny leak. But again, every little bit makes a difference, especially with these boats. So when you do pass-throughs, it's always better to have a physical connection, you know, like these waterproof connections. They are completely sealed off from each other. So this is a physical block, you know, it's not a pass-through. Just kind of bear that in mind when you are designing or building your boat. Always better to have a physical, be it a stud or a waterproof connector or whatever it is you wanna put there. So if you guys remember from yesterday when we were testing this, there were actually some leaks from around the lid, which is the first time we ever had that. And what that leads me to believe is that number one, either the seal itself is compromised, which I don't think was the case, or there was crunchies trapped on the seal. So I'm cleaning that off right now. Should be nice and clean. You don't need to lubricate these with grease, okay? I've talked about this before. Grease lubricates, it does not seal. Unless you're talking about like a surface boat and you're just pumping a stuffing box full of grease, right? Don't use it as a method to increase the, the seal efficacy. Use it to lubricate. The other thing about putting grease on these seals is that they love to attract dust and little particulates and grinding chunkies and everything else that you're going to be working on around here. It'll get stuck in the grease, stuck on the seal, and it's going to make a leak. Keep it dry, keep it clean, and you'll be in good shape. Out of the top secret test facility with Virginia in the water. I have like 2 seconds to try and get this. I had it all buttoned up, ready to go, power on and trimmed and everything, because it takes about 800 years to put this thing together. Then I got a phone call. I got to run back to Jason's place because the fencing guys have questions. So let's see what this thing does. All right, it is sitting a little nose heavy, but I think what happened last time after we dove, it shook out some air or whatever. So she should be going down now. Yeah, there we go. Going down. We're going down. Leveling out. Going down. There we go. There we go. Maybe just a tiny bit stern heavy. No. She's leveling out. There you go. All right, I think we're in good shape here. Let's throw it in the big pool. Gremlins. So I want you to watch this. I'm gonna hit the throttle. Oh, look, the pump just kicked on. Oh, look, the pump just kicks on. And I got no throttle. What the heck? Oh, my Lord. All right. Apart it comes again. I don't know what's going on with the speed controller. I gotta pull everything out and find out. I'm gonna have to isolate the circuit and then figure out why the speed controller is not working, but that channel is pushing the ballast system only in one direction though. So, joy of all joys, I get to pull all of this out again, which is such an easy process with this boat. Sarcasm alert. Oh. We'll get there. We'll get there. Ballast tank's completely full. Look at that. Isn't that fancy? All right. All right. It's fine. It's all fine. Fortunately, I don't have 18 other projects queued up right now. This is really weird. Let's take a look at what we got going on here. So what I did is I disconnected the entire forward half of the cylinder, so only the aft half is working right now. I got rudder, I got diplanes and all of that stuff. Throttle works fine. Oh, except it just did a little hiccup thing. See, it works fine. Forward, reverse, no issues. Now I'm going to hook everything else up here and see if it works. And sure enough, working perfectly fine. Not sure what's different here, people. I mean, the only other possible, I got like the lights are not hooked up. I can't see the lights being a problem. You could hook them up and you can see. I don't know. I could cycle the ballast tank, but then it's going to pee water all over my shop. Which I could probably do anyway. I can put this out. Hang it over the edge of my bench and have it pee into a cup like it's at the doctor's office. We'll see maybe if activating the pump messes up the throttle. No, it's fine. It's perfectly fine. It's peeing in the cup right now. Getting the last of it out. So I don't know. I'm just going to put it back together again. Set it aside. We're going to pick this back up again Tuesday when we're back in the shop. Because I got to wrap this up and I've got to quote out 2 big boats to some customers. And I need to do this video. Well, we're going to finish off with at least a partial success in the new kit, 1/200 scale Sequest DSV. So this is what I've decided to make available to anybody looking to do a sizable model of Sequest. This is all printed in glass fiber, reinforced ABS plastic. It's absolutely bulletproof. It was designed for RC, so you've got access hatches in the bottom. You'd cut that open, and then you've got all the doors in here, the fins and the resin pieces for the jet nozzles and the EVA doors. But this is what it is, and it works out to be just over 5 feet, like 60.5 inches, I believe. So in theory, by the time you're watching this video, it'll be up on my website. If that's something that you're interested in, you can go ahead and buy it. Just bear in mind, I got to fabricate them here. It takes a long time to print all of those parts off, but it'll be worth it. It is a super cool model, and I eventually want to do one on my own. Well, with that, I am going to call this week a wrap. I hope you enjoyed this update video. It was a challenging week for me. I'm not going to lie. There was a lot of challenges with a lot of boats that are on the bench. Hopefully next week we're going to be able to wrap them up. We get Typhoon, Virginia, and the 212 back up and running again. I appreciate you joining in. If you do like what you see here, like and subscribe. It helps us out a lot. If you have questions or comments, drop them below. Love to hear from you. And with that, on behalf of myself, Bob Martin, the RCSubGuy, you have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you next time.